Hello! Very soon, namely in October, the remake of the cult game Silent Hill 2, which is expected by all hardcore fans, will be released. The development is being handled by the Polish studio Blooper team, on account of which such projects as Layers of Fear.
This house is absolutely amazing. How about that smile?
Blair Witch, the Medium.
Shh. Now let it go. You belong to her.
The Medium. All these projects are somehow connected with the theme of survivor horror. I would especially like to highlight the latest project of the studio, the game The Medium. This game is called the spiritual successor, or at least a game inspired by the great Silent Hill series. In addition, one of the composers of the game was none other than Akira Yamaoka, the permanent author of almost all parts of the Silent Hill franchise. But in none of these games, including The Medium, there is practically no real combat system, neither hand-to-hand nor firearms. Yes, in these games and places there is a certain atmosphere, but many players call these games a walking simulator. The character simply moves around the locations, and from time to time the player presses a certain button to perform a certain action. For example, pick up a note or open a door. And that's it. But in the original game Silent Hill 2, the main character had a firearm, as well as a melee weapon, which he used to kill monsters. In other words, the game had a combat system one way or another, and players actively used it. In this regard, many players fear that Bloober Team, having no experience in creating a full-fledged combat system, will not be able to implement it well within the framework of the remake of Silent Hill 2. In turn, Bloober Team says that there is no reason to worry. The developers assure that they strictly follow the original source. Here is what the game's producer, Motoi Okamoto from Konami, says about this in an interview with Famitsu magazine. The remake of Silent Hill 2 turned out to be close to the original in terms of overall atmosphere and content, thanks to the persistence of the Polish developers from the Bloober Team studio. Japanese veterans of the series, including composer Akira Yamaoka and artist Masahiro Ito, who participated in the creation of the original horror for PlayStation 2, initially wanted to see a remake with more serious changes, but Bloober Team was able to convince them of the need to match the classic base. Motoi Okamoto continues, "Our developers did not want to do the same thing twice, so there were many things that the authors of the original game wanted to change." On the other hand, the Bloober Team members were huge fans of Silent Hill 2 from PlayStation 2, and the exchange of opinions ultimately helped us all reach a good balance. We kept everything that was in the original Silent Hill 2, but at the same time made the game more modern. New technologies allowed the developers to make the most detailed version of Silent Hill. Players will be able to take a detailed look at the surroundings of the foggy town, recreated taking into account the atmospheric features of the original setting. Okamoto also admitted that Konami was tempted to diversify the environment with glowing lanterns and flashing traffic lights, but they ultimately abandoned this idea, since in the original source there were no signs of electricity in the streets. Okamoto also said that for greater immersion in what is happening on the screen, Bloober Team implemented a minimalist interface, and even this can be disabled in the settings if desired. Players will have to navigate more by the notes that James makes on the map, bloodstains, and other elements of the environment. Finally, the producer confirmed that the new version of Silent Hill 2 does not rely on shooting enemies with firearms. You will have to deal with them, but not more often than before. By the way, the first meeting of the protagonist with the monster will happen later in the remake than in the original. It is this last statement of the producer that indirectly confirms the fears of players about the combat system. It seems that Bloober Team postponed the implementation of the combat system in the game until the last moment, being unsure of their abilities. But of course, we will hope for the best. Today, there are already several videos on the network with real gameplay from the game, from which you can already draw initial conclusions about the future game. Well, personally, I'm really looking forward to the Silent Hill 2 remake, because it's one of my favorite games in general. Even if the remake doesn't live up to all the fans' expectations, You can always replay the classic version and enjoy the magnificent story of this mysterious town. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next videos on the channel. Stay in touch. Bye!